How many people would you like to have knocking on your door if everything went south? 1, 10, how about none? In this video we're going to be discussing OPSEC or Operational Security. Hi, this is Everyday Prepper, welcome to the channel. OPSEC or Operational Security is a military term which is basically about any information about you or your activities that could be useful and then turned against you by an enemy. From a prepping point of view, that's what I want to talk about today. There's quite a lot to this. I suppose the most basic of all would be, if you've got a stockpile of food and water as part of your preps, the last thing you're going to do is go shouting with a loudhailer down the street, telling everybody that you got all this food. You wouldn't do that naturally. That's kind of part of prepping, really. There may be some other things that aren't immediately obvious, and that's what I wanted to go into. So first of all, as a prepper myself in the UK, I do use the internet quite a lot. Obviously, if the internet went down, I wouldn't. But I do use internet a lot for research. I use it when I'm planning preps, when I'm finding out about what to do in certain situations. When you're browsing on the internet, you do sometimes come across some things that could possibly flag up a few things. I'm sure you know what I mean. So it's very important to ensure that you secure your online activity, and one of the best ways of doing that is using a VPN or a virtual private network. You can purchase these. There are some free versions. There's also some browsers that have them incorporated in. So basically, if you're browsing on the internet, even if you use an incognito tab on your browser, your ISP, your internet service provider, can still see what you're seeing on the internet. They get a log of basically everything that you do online, unless you're going through a VPN, in which case they can't, as long as it's a good VPN. So VPN is definitely recommended for if you're going down a few rabbit holes that you possibly don't want anyone really to know what you're doing. Now, I'm not talking about anything illegal. It's just why have red flags, or why create flags when you don't really need to. Another big part of security will be what you discuss or show about yourself on social media. The common thing to do these days is have your whole life on social media, although most of social media is a lie anyway. People generally only put the good bits. So I suppose you can make up what you like, put whatever you like on there. But just be careful, just be mindful of if you're taking pictures of yourself, do you want them to identify your preps, and do you want them to identify other people, to identify where you live? It's just something to be mindful of. Again, with YouTube, yes, I have a YouTube channel. It's around prepping. I show my face. There are some preppers who wear full face masks and hide their face. I don't do that. I want to get the information out there, but I'm also careful to try not to give away my location and give away too much on my activities, but it's a bit of a balance, really. So when I'm talking to people day to day, people, especially if I don't know them, I basically trust no one when I'm talking to them. Certainly I don't bring up prepping or anything like that at all. I would only bring that up if I felt comfortable and they were to have brought it up first. It's very important to build a group of like-minded people who maybe are other preppers that and I remember when I first started out, I was thinking, all these talk about joining a MAGA group, or was that mutual assistant group or something like that, I think they would call it. And I was always wondering, how on earth do you find preppers? But I have since found a group of people who I could rely on if we had an SHTF situation, who I could contact, who I would trust, and I hope they would trust me. And we have means of contacting each other, and ways of certain procedures that we would follow in the event of some big event happening. And I've hinted in a number of my videos as to how those people could be found. I'm not going to spell it out for you, but it's you just do the digging, do a bit of research, and you'll be able to figure out how to come across people who are like-minded, like yourselves. So first of all, when it comes to security, hopefully you'll have all the basics covered. So you'll have some water put away, you'll have food put away, you'll have some kind of self-sufficiency. So some kind of off-grid alternative power source. You'll have alternative ways of cooking, heating, lighting, that kind of stuff. And then you'll also have some skills, hopefully either self-educated or maybe trained in self-defense, first aid, off-grid hygiene, and general self-sufficiency. So that's an element of security That's an element of security in itself. Then, you know, if everything was stripped away from you, could you then bring yourself back up from literally nothing and ensure that you survive, not only survive and thrive? So if you've got those self-sufficiency skills, that you know, as a base, then, you know, if there was a real big event, you know, an SHTF situation, you know, then you've already got that grounding. So yeah, so just be careful who you talk to about your stockpile, assuming that's what you're doing, because it's not like people will be making a list, but you know, they'll definitely remember you when they're starving and they've got nowhere else to go. So if you're in a property where you can install security cameras, I'd recommend it. And you know, the street doesn't have to be, you know, like Shotgun Alley or, you know, particularly bad street or anything like that at all. You're literally just protecting your own preps. So you know, I've got cameras front and back and around the side of the house. And I've got an app that will connect to the internet. But even if the internet's down, I can I can fire up my router, and I can have a LAN network around the house where I can still view what's going on outside on my app, even if I didn't have connection to the internet. So that's really handy. And those are the Tapo cameras that I think I put a link for in a previous video. I'll put it in the description. And you know, I use the alerts. If I'm out of the house and there's nobody else going to be in the house for the day, then I'll have alerts on in key areas, so that if there's any movement in those particular areas, and you can draw lines and perimeters and that kind of stuff on the app. And get alerts wherever you are. So you know, even if you're not, even if you're not at home and you're out and about, you can use your mobile data, and you can get a ping when someone's getting a bit too close to areas that you don't want them to. And lucky for me, I'm generally pretty close to home, so I can get back fairly quickly. So as well as video cameras, I have motion sensor lights front and back. All around the house, all around the garden. Just handy to have a bit of a deterrent as well. And you know, a good exercise is to check all around your perimeter of your house, and just have a look at it from a point of a burglar, and just think, you know, if I was going to try and break into this place, how easy or difficult would it be? You know, is it the kind of place that would be so difficult that you just move on to the next house? Or are there lots of opportunities to get in or hide, you know, or break in under cover? Always worth just doing a walk around and perimeter check to see how attractive it might be. So in addition to your normal prepping kit, those with firearms licenses will obviously know that you don't go shouting about it. You do keep things quiet, you keep things locked away and out of sight. And of course, you know, if you went out hunting or you know, even clay pigeon shooting, you generally try and come back and have things generally concealed when you're bringing them back into the house. You don't want people following you in or just clocking that you might have some firearms in the house. And speaking of hunting, you may have come across a recent news article about crossbows. There was some idiot that ended up killing a man by breaking into his house and shooting him with a crossbow. You know, crossbows are used for all sorts of sport, as well as, I don't know about Olympics, but certainly certain aspects of archery. And there's a bit of an uproar really, because the government, after a big campaign, the government are now going to be doing a consultation on crossbow ownership. So you know what that's going to mean. Consultations always mean we've made the decision, and then we're just going to play for time and then pretend that we're actually doing a consultation, which is absolute bull. And then they'll just go back to their original decision. So I would expect that they're going to start introducing licenses for crossbows. If you haven't got a crossbow for hunting, then you know it might be useful, and certainly during an SHTF situation, I would imagine that a crossbow would be very good for shooting rabbits. So basically, if some big event was to happen, I mean a huge event that brought everything down, then you know it's going to level the playing field. You're going to have people who have money who just rely on their apps and their internet and their supply chains and their shopping and everything else, and their concierge, who aren't going to be able to thrive in a massive, you know, grid down situation. The people who are going to thrive are the people who are prepared for self-sufficiency, like us preppers. We're going to have the knowledge and the skills to, you know, go from absolute nothing back up to surviving and thriving, you know, in that kind of situation. And it's preppers who are going to be rebuilding. It's preppers who are going to be helping others. It's not the people whose money will be useless in that scenario. So again, you know, unless you've got the money to have a bunker, you know, a steel or concrete bunker 10 meters below the ground on a massive compound, then it's very important to ensure that your preps are protected in your home. So I wanted to just touch on that really. I didn't want to go into too much detail. I don't think I really need to. I mean, it should be something you know about, should be something that you're planning into your preps. But I just wanted to point out a couple of areas that sometimes it could be easily forgotten. I know I did in the early days. So I hope you found this interesting, and if so, please subscribe to the channel. This is the kind of videos I'll be making going forward, trying to cover the important stuff relating to prepping. And as I say, I was really just covering something that everybody should be incorporating into their preps anyway. So in the meantime, thanks very much for watching, and stay prepared.